Hi everybody, welcome back astronauts, welcome back to JayInSpace. Today I'm going to be talking about what books I read in 2024 and we're going to be ranking them on a 1 to 10 star scale. But first, if you haven't gardened already, go ahead and do that now. My original goal for 2024 was to read 50 books and I read 15. So I tried my best. My goal for this year is to read 50 books, so hopefully at the beginning of next year I'll have a really nice long video with my 50 books. But we'll stick with the 15 that I read. Alright, we're going to start on the low end, which was the lowest was 5 out of 10 stars. Starting off with Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I'm going to put them all up on the screen, so I should probably scoot. This book just wasn't for me. It was sold to me as like an underwater cosmic horror-ish vibe. And I thought it was going to be a lot scarier and like just spookier, and I thought it was boring. I mean, it's a queer love story, but it wasn't really a love story. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. I felt like the ending didn't have a good payoff. That's just me. It was still written really well. Like, the imagery was beautiful, and it was an interesting idea. So, I would not read it again. Our Wives Under the Sea is a lesbian love story where this married couple, the wife goes off on a deep sea dive, and when she comes back, she's like all fucked up, basically. Next is Bunny by Mona Awad. I also thought this was going to be more of like a horror novel, and it was definitely like weird, but it wasn't. It could have been so much weirder, and I think it would have been better. Bunny was about a college girl who gets in with these sorority girls, and it's like a cult basically, but it's not as cool as it sounds. And then the next 5 out of 10 stars was Dune by Frank Herbert. I loved the movie, so I immediately bought the books because I was like, oh, I bet the books will be really good. And I'm sure it is, but I couldn't get into it at all. The writing style was just too boring for me. So I didn't finish it. I started it. I do plan to really try to read it again eventually, but I really couldn't get into it. And I don't even know how to explain Dune. It's a sci-fi adventure. It's like almost a sci-fi fantasy because there's like prophecy and it takes place on different worlds, whatever. Moving on. 6 out of 10 stars. Daisy Jones and the Six by Jenkins Reid. This was an okay book. I guess they made it into a miniseries, which I didn't watch. It's just about a band, and they have a really big dramatic breakup, and the story just follows them. I also struggled to get into this one. The story at times kind of dragged. And I didn't really enjoy, I didn't like the characters very much. It could be a personal thing. I just wasn't vibing with them, so it was hard to read. I only read it because I was like, well, I'm almost done, so I might as well finish it. But it was good enough to become a miniseries, so maybe the miniseries is good. Next is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This one was really relatable for me because I struggle with mental illness a lot, and which is why I wanted to read it. And Sylvia Plath, I was just interested in her work. it wasn't as like special as I thought it was going to be. At times it was definitely get on with it, girly pop. But I do pull a lot of quotes from there for therapy. Oops. And I still liked it. I probably would read that one again. I don't really know how to describe the bell jar. It's essentially Sylvia Plath is talking about herself and living with mental illness and as a woman at that time. There were also a lot of racist comments in that book, so that's why I was like, oh, okay. It's like a jump scare. You're reading and she's like, I'm so sad. Racism. I'm so sad. I'm like, okay. Next is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa. I don't know how to say that last name and I'm not gonna try. This one was interesting. I liked the idea of it. Basically, this woman takes a year to live in her apartment and sleep via popping a lot of different types of pills. A lot of it was just reading the pills that she was taking. And I don't know, it didn't feel realistic to me, I guess. It just wasn't super memorable. Next was Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. This one was okay. Again, I thought it was going to be more horror-esque, but it wasn't very memorable. I honestly don't even I can't even like make a synopsis of it because I don't remember. It's I think it was about a woman who worked in the tech industry in Silicon Valley, but it was like obviously it sucks. I don't know. It wasn't for me. I don't know. Yeah. So next up is 7 out of 10 stars, and I only have one book, which is Leave the World Behind by Rahman Alma. I enjoyed the writing style of this a lot, and the honesty of what an apocalypse quote unquote would look like. I read it after I watched the movie. The movie's on Netflix, which I would recommend because it was still a pretty good movie. The book is definitely better, and the book adds way more context to what's happening, and it makes it more stressful because I don't know. In the movie, it feels more structured, like, oh, this is the end of the world and someone's planning this or something. In the book, it's definitely more up to interpretation, which I liked. Essentially, Leave the World Behind is about this family that goes on an impromptu vacation and then suddenly, like, all communication gets cut off and the owners of the home come home and they all have to, like, kind of go through the apocalypse together. Next up, 8 out of 10 stars, Little Peach by Peggy Kern. This was I guess it's a YA novel, but it's about sexual assault, essentially. It's a pretty sad book, but it was really realistic and hard-hitting for me. I enjoyed the writing style. It was a really quick read. I think I read it in like a day, because I don't know. It was an odd mix of like, it's written for children, almost, or like teenagers, I guess, but it's about a young woman who gets trafficked in New York City. It has a happy ending though. So, 9 out of 10 stars. The Deeper the Water, the Uglier the Fish by Katya. I also can't say this last name. I loved this book. It's about these two sisters and their mom who has severe mental health issues. And it's about how they deal with it. And they like go off to New York to be with their dad, and then one of them goes back to be with their mom. And it was just such an interesting look at... Why are you whining at me? It was such an interesting look at how people deal with grief and complicated relationships with parents. because, like, relatable. And at the very end, 10 out of 10 stars. Everyone in this room will someday be dead by Emily Austen. I loved this book. I want this book on my bookshelf. It was such an accurate representation of living with mental illness, especially untreated mental illness at first. Basically, the book follows a young woman with severe anxiety, and follows her, and she's like an extreme people pleaser, which I identify with heavily. And it's just like her life, and she gets a job on accident at a Catholic church, and she's not Catholic, and she's also a lesbian, and she gets this email from a woman who is friends with the woman who used to work at the Catholic church who died, and instead of just telling this poor woman that her friend is dead, she pretends to be her. It's very interesting. I would recommend it. It's such a good look into what it's like to be like a people pleaser, like, and to be like just so anxious all the time and so hyper aware of what's happening around you and how you're affecting other people. So, those were all the books that I read in 2024. I'm currently reading The Rabbit Hutch right now. That is my first book of 2025. What have you guys read? What was your favorite book that you read? Drop in the comments. I would love to know. I need book recommendations always, so if you have any, let me know. But that is it for this week. So thank you for joining me. I love you guys. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. Bye.